Doing well. Last week we left off on Psalm 43, 41 to 43. So today we'll pick up on Psalms 44 and 45 and 46. So praise Abiyah. If you give me one moment, be patient with us. Open the screen to share. Though I'm going to have it on the screen, I'm also going to be reading. I'm gonna have to read from the screen. I want physical Bible with me because I prefer that personally. If I'm not reading on my laptop, I can't stand reading from my phone no more. I don't know what it. I praise Yah that I can't stand reading from my phone no more. Make me feel better because I'm actually reading. Not to say that I read, but I feel like I'm getting a better understanding reading from my physical copy because I ain't getting distracted by Instagram, YouTube, or notifications, or even texting. Oh, praise Yah. All right. Hope everybody is doing well. Shabbat Shalom, you too. We are back. I know the voice is different today. Pastor Battle just got a younger. No, I'm joking. No, I'm his son. I'm Isaiah, and my brother will be uh will be assisting one another, just helping out today. So hallelujah. So good for technical difficulties. We're trying to get our setup perfected. All these cords and whatnot, they don't want to cooperate. They just got a body of their own. They like to fall at times. So, but that's fine. We're gonna get everything together. All right. So we're gonna be in Psalms 44, 45, and 46. All right. Psalm 44, verse 1 says, To the chief musician, for the sons of Korah, mass skill. We have heard with our ears, O Lord. Our fathers have told us what work you did in their days, in the times of old, how you did drive out the heathen with your hand and planted them, how you did afflict the people and cast them out. For they got not their land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but your right hand, and your arm in the light of your countenance, because you had a favor with them, favor unto them. You are my king, O Lord. Command deliverances for Jacob. Through you will we push down our enemies. Through your name will we tread them under their rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. But you have saved us from our enemies, and have put them to shame that hated us. In the Most High will we boast all the day long and praise your name forever. Selah. But you have cast off and put us to shame, and go not forth with our enemies. You make us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. You have given us like sheep appointed for meat, and have scattered us among the heathen. You sell your people for naught, and does not increase your wealth by their price. You make us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. You make us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. My confusion is continually before me, and the shame of my face has covered me. For the voice of him that reproaches and blasphemes by reason of the enemy and the avenger. All this is come upon us, yet have we not forgotten you, neither have we dealt falsely in your covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from your way. Though you have sore broken us in the place of dragons and covered us with the shadow of death, if we have forgotten the name of our Lord, or stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not the Most High search this out? For he knows the secrets of the heart. Yea, for your sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake, why sleepest you, O Yah, or O Master? Arise, cast us not off forever. Wherefore hide you your face and forget our affliction and our oppression? For our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaves unto the earth. Arise for our help and redeem us for your mercy's sake. Hallelujah. All right. Praise Yah. I think that is it's a good song. And it's just given to the sons of Korah. So it's something to really think about. So Psalms 44, 1 through 8 says, we have heard with our ears, O Yah, our fathers have told us what work you have did in their days, in the times of old, how you did drive out the heathen with your hand and planted them, how you did afflict the people and cast them out. Those first two verses, they have been reading the Torah. They heard these things. They didn't see these with their own eyes. But this is something that they've heard or have faith from that because you gain hearing by the word of the Most High. And their fathers were doing their responsibilities. This is to the chief musician for the sons of Korah. So they have heard these things. They've heard about the victories. They understood that they didn't get the land by their own sword or got the possession by them. As a matter of fact, Yah said He's gonna send, don't kill them all off at once, or the wild beasts will take you over. But little by little will I drive them out. He gonna send the hornets after them, plagues after these people, so we can possess the land. So it was not their own arm. Even the Most High stopped them. You know, when they were going against the in the book of Joshua and in the book of Judges, they couldn't get past a certain point. They put up a fight. They made some people tributaries, but they dwelt with them in the land. You can even see that in even David's day when Ornan the Jebusite, that's where the temple was placed, where his threshing floor was. So some of those people were still in the land because the Most High was going to send them out if they did not, of course, if they did not submit. So they didn't get this by their own hand. And verse 4 says, you are my king, O Yah. Command deliverances for Jacob. Though we will push down our enemies, through your name will we tread them under that rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me, but you have saved us from our enemies and have put them to shame that hated us. In the Most High, we boast all the day long, and praise your name forever. So all this is ascribing praise to Yah, who is their deliverer. Verse 5 says, through you we will push down our enemies. Through your name we will tread them down that rise up, tread them under that rise up against us. So an example, something that comes to mind is Joshua. Joshua 6, verse 20. It says, so the people shouted when the priests blew with their trumpets, and it came to pass when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. So these people just simply shouted, and the priest blew the trumpet. And when it got loud, and when they heard that the wall fell down flat, that's a shout. We was created in the the image of the Most High. So our voice came from the Father. He said, he that created the eye, does he not see? The ear, does he not hear? So we have all these faculties from the Most High, even our voice. And this victory came from him. We can't do this within our own selves. So that's what's going to tread down our enemies. So you got to keep that in mind. When you really have a problem, you can tread down your enemy. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and be transparent. It's not always easy. But, you know, as young people, when you're single, you become lonely. When you become lonely, you make an excuse to either want to fornicate, do things sexual. And some, even young women cases, you watch pornography. In young men cases, you watch pornography because you feel lonely. And you don't feel like you done got into a trap that you can't get out of it. I've been in that same spot. I've even got subscribed to some websites trying to get help from it. And they sent you emails saying, you don't need more prayer. You need to find the root of everything. You didn't pray, you didn't cry, you did all that. Well, no, I believe you do need to pray. But it's also knowing where your help comes from, because your help not coming from within you. And if you got to get to the root of it, the only way you can get to the root of it is the Most High allow you to remember why you start doing what you did, where you at, because we always like to make excuses for ourselves to say that we can't get out of it, but we got to ascribe all the power to Yah. That's the only way you get out of it, because you can't help yourself as you think. You think it's a part of willpower, or self-regulation or doing all these things from what a psychologist say. Not saying that talking to these people, but how they got all this wisdom. There's wisdom in everything, as we know in Proverbs 8. They got this wisdom from the Father, from seeing what helped other people. So I believe we do need more prayer. But at the same time, the Father gave you the self-control and the fruit. That's the fruit of the Ruach. You don't get these things without having the Ruach HaKodesh. Even people of the world, they got this discipline, but they still feel a void and the emptiness, not knowing what they can turn to. They didn't turn to frivolous things that only help for for a time. They only halfway healed. They've stopped here, but they don't know Yah. And you got people that over spiritualize stuff. They know Yah. They don't stop here though. They keep dealing with the same thing because they haven't really disciplined themselves, which is something that the Father gives. Disciplining your flesh. I remember my dad when I was younger, about in my 20s, early 20s. I'm midway now. He said, you can't be so heavily minded that you know earthly good. At first, I was like, well, I disagree with that because I'm so heavily minded, I got it in there. But that's true. That's true. You want to know why it's true? Because you can't just be claiming and boasting Yah and you ain't doing the practical things like really trusting him to get rid of this. That's what the Pharisees was doing. That's what got them in trouble. They was doing all the fasting that they could, doing all this that they could, fasting 2 times a week, giving all this, looking good in their garments and everything, but still falling short constantly. That Yahushua rebuked them so hard that they were the ones, Caiaphas, them set them up to kill them. So it's a balance that's within you. You placed in earth. Yes, you do keep your minds on heavenly things, but you really have to have your mind on Yah and understand that it is His power, not just saying His name. Because demons believe and they tremble. It's not just about saying His name; it's about really knowing. Because some of our forefathers knew His name. Hezekiah daddy, Ahaz, knew his name and he still decided to fall away. Joash, the young king that started at 7 years old, he knew about him until Jehoiada died and he turned away to another God. So it's more than just about knowing his name, it's knowing that it's a true relationship and you have to have a relationship with him, not just knowing about him. You have to know him for real, just like you would know a brother or a sister or your own parents. And the wisdom in it is that victory doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from remembering and trusting what Yah already did. That's what these people were saying. That's what the psalmist was saying right here. It says, we have heard with our ears, O Yah. Our fathers have told us what works you did in their days, in the times of old, how you did drive them out with your hand and planted them, how you did afflict the people and cast them out. For they got not the land in possession by their own sword. Hence, you try to be so deep and I got this discipline, I'm doing all this fasting. Or I'm working out my body, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But they think they did within their own self. But the concept of discipline comes from the Father. The concept of consistency comes from Him. The night and day has never stopped for thousands of years. You know, people of the world said that the earth been around millions of years. Well, if it has, watch this, sun and the moon ain't never stopped since then. So you can't stop Yah. So the consistency and the discipline comes from Him. The strength comes from Him. You can't get that off your mind. You can't just, oh, it comes from Him and you not do. The only reason that you do is because you know who it comes from. Not just saying, oh, I know, but not doing what you're supposed to do. You do it because you know better. Or you not just doing all the work and forget. who it comes from. Just like some of our forefathers when they got back Ziklag, the men of Belial didn't want to help the other brothers because they didn't really understand why they got the spoil. It was all David prayed to Yah. The men of Belial didn't pray. David prayed to Yah to see if he was gonna get the victory. And guess what Yah responded with? He said he's gonna recover all. That's the only way that David got the victory. But these men of Belial didn't see that and got mad because these brothers were so faint and they couldn't go no further. And the other brethren, even including the men of Belial, went to go fight and help recover all. But they didn't have the understanding. But we see that David did have the understanding. He understood that he had to go fight, do the work, but the only way that he could go do the work and succeed and win was because Yah was with him. He didn't forget who was with him. Now, I brought up David also because look at what David did himself when he cheated on his wives and caused Bathsheba to cheat on Uriah, had him killed. Those battles David didn't win. Those battles, when you read, David lost. And they said that go tell him that they'll be lost, but tell him this news. If he is upset, tell him that Uriah the Hittite is also dead. And when David heard that, he was cool with it. He ain't saying nothing too much about it. He went on about his merry way. Because he was just going out there to fight to try to cover something up and forgot who gives the victory. And he got a whooping for that. Just like we would get a whooping for that as we forget. And we can't act like Yah is not a father and he not balanced and won't give you a whooping just because you claim his name, because he will. So it's not just about putting in the effort. It's about remembering and trusting what Yah already did for you. Because you are my king, O Yah. Command deliverances for Jacob because he already did. You're already free. He says, whom the Son of Man says free is free indeed. That's the true thing. The Father already sent Yahushua HaMashiach, who was sacrificed and got back up for us. And Paul even reminded us that greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. That's something that we have to know. You don't have to live a double life. You don't have to be out in front of everybody acting like you all this and in the private. You know you're doing dirt. You know you're doing wrong. You know if the roof is taken off your house, you'll be exposed and you'll be ashamed of the foolishness that you're doing. But you got the audacity to look at other people and talk about what they do. When you over trying to compare the whole time, you stink too. It don't matter how bad the boo-boo smell. You boo-booed as well. You stink. And you need to wipe up too. For real. So it don't matter. You can't really compare the pile to that pile when both of them are the same thing. Both of them feces. Just because on one stinking word, man, both of them boo-boo. You can't switch it up. You can't compare. You got to look at your own stuff and clean your stuff up too, because guess what? You dirty. And you need to remember where your help comes from. And you need to remember that not just your effort, because your effort can get knocked down as well. So if your faith only works in blessings, it will break in battle. So it's not just about being willing and obedient and eating the good of the land. It's not just about eating the good of the land. It's about being willing and obedient. That's the first thing. If you be willing and obedient, then you will eat the good of the land. And if and then proper preposition. That's a real thing. But you have to be willing and obedient because sometimes you may not eat the good of the land. David was a good king for a while, but they had a famine 3 years straight based on what Saul did. And we know that David was obedient, especially soon after with Saul's death. But three years of famine, and I know I'm not over here sinning. I know this before Uriah and Bathsheba, this before the census. What's going on? They set a fast and prayed and found out what Saul did. But even after that, David was willing and obedient. He was still obedient, and the kingdom flourished. And the only reason he couldn't build the house, one because of Uriah, even though that was a sin, it said because he was a man of war, he had shed blood. And Uriah's blood, though it is included in that, because he fought. Somebody peaceful got to build this, and your son Solomon will. So it's more than just having the blessings. It's more than just getting the spoil. It's more than just desiring a wife and you getting yourself together for a wife. Because after you got your wife or your husband, are you going to continue to do the right thing? And you be so tired of waiting, but you be prolonging your own stuff. I'm talking to myself as well. You be prolonging your own stuff by doing the stuff that you're doing because you just want the blessing rather than going through the journey and the process, which you already got to go through to get what you desire. And it's not just about getting what you desire. It's about having a true relationship and get yourself together because that's what you want to do, because you want to be willing and obedient. That's what it's about first. And you got to go through the drop periods, which is what our forefathers was doing too. That's why he said in verse 9, you have cast us off. I'm about to get there. It says, so don't trade in your testimony of the elders for the tools of this world. I don't understand how Ahaz fell away. This Hezekiah's dad. I read it in Kings and Chronicles. I'm just still shook about Ahaz and make me look at myself like, man, I did some stupid stuff like Ahaz. I did some stupid stuff like Joash, even Jeroboam. They traded in the testimonies of their elders, the law, the testimonies, the temple that they got from Yah, that he gave to their forefathers for the rudiments of this world. For some like plastic, for some like stone, he gave it up quick. So we don't need to be trading in the wisdom that we receive for what the world is offering. Because when you begin to trade in that, you begin to become numb and you begin to come in the cycle and you start forgetting and confused about where you need to be. And it's hard to get back to square one because you don't know where to start because you done gave it away until you get so down to the slop like a prodigal son and remember, wait, hold on. I'm tripping. I need to figure something out. If I was at home, I know my daddy's servant's eating good right now. I'm over here like a servant. And he what the pigs eat? Oh, I got to go. I'll be a servant if anything. Well, he wants you to be a son. He wants you to be a daughter. So you can't just be trading it in because what the world offering, because materialistic things. Because materialistic things like a house, like a vehicle, like money, those are all tools that get you around in the world. But your main source is Yah. Because when the house, when the vehicle, and when the money is gone, you got to have something that is everlasting, that ain't never stop. That's Yah. That's why the psalmist wrote what he wrote. So if Yah did it before, why are you doubting now? The sword didn't win the land. Yahuah's name did. So what are you trusting in? What is it? What are you trusting in? Is it a self-help book? Is it a 21-day fast, but you still lying? Is it the drink? Is it the marijuana? Is it game? Is it a woman? Is it a man? Or is it Yah? Because all those things gonna pass away. I don't think that ain't gonna pass away is the last thing I mentioned, Yah. And that's something that you have to really have in your heart. Now, it ain't gonna always be easy. And it's not gonna always be fun. My dad used to tell me to pioneer, but he still tell me, when you pioneer stuff, it ain't gonna be easy. Sometimes the person that's in the front, he gotta weed whack stuff. He might get a limb back at his nose. That's gonna hurt. But the folks out them straight, they'll know where to duck. They'll know that they ain't been laying down there because he got whacked. Ah, thank you, bro. Thank you, sis. I know that I'm gonna go that way the proper way, and I'm gonna pay attention to where I'm going. Because that's kind of what they're going through here. And verses 9 through really the rest of the song. Hey, it's rough for them. All right. So verses 9 through 22 says, but you have cast us off and put us to shame and go not forth with our armies. You make us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. You have given us like sheep appointed for meat and have scattered us among the heathen. You sell your people for naught and do not increase your wealth by their price. You make us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. You make us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. My confusion is continually before me, and the shame of my face has covered me. For the voice of him that reproaches and blasphemes, by reason of the enemy and avenger. All this has come upon us, yet have we not forgotten you, neither have we dealt falsely in your covenant. So even all this is happening, one thing that they said in verse 17, all this has come upon us, yet have we not forgotten you, neither have we dealt in your falsely in your covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from your way, though you have so broken us in the place of dragons and covered us with the shadow of death. One thing that comes to mind is the book of Job. Sometimes you got to go through some stuff in life, though it is not fun, but it's for your learning and wisdom for others. Sometimes you got to be the pioneer and get whacked in the face. Sometimes you got to get bit by the snake. Or if you're the firstborn of the resurrection, the first fruit of all things of life, you got to die. For everybody, that's Yahushua. And that's not easy. So it is a rough situation, but we all can have life now after we pass away into the resurrection. We can get back up because a sinless man died. Yahushua didn't do nothing wrong. He was beat in his face. He told the truth. After I read Job, I'm gonna we're gonna go look at some of the stuff that he said to the Pharisees and people that set him up. It says Job 122. Oh, well, let's start with what Job said. So Job, some stuff went on. Okay. We're gonna start with Job 119. Now remind you, he done lost his wealth, he done lost his cattle, lastly, he done lost his children. It says, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the four corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped and said, naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. Yahuah gave, and Yahuah has taken away. Blessed be the name of Yahuah. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged the Most High foolishly. And we just know that man had a heavy burden just came unto him, seemingly out the blue. And that's rough. And he couldn't stop it. But he tore his mantle, he fell down upon the ground and gave esteem to Yah and acknowledged Yah and said, blessed be the name of Yahuah. People talk this is a poetry book. This ain't no poetic book. Always poetic because King James writing it, but God, leave. And they see the conversation that they have, man, oh my goodness. To go through what he went through. And he didn't save face, he told the truth. He was hurting. Just like our forefathers in Psalm 44, they was hurting. Told the truth. He said, you have sore brokenness in the place of dragons. Their word is deka. It says to collapse physically or mentally, to break. You have sore brokenness in the place of dragons and covered us with the shadow of death. In verse 18, all this has come upon us, yet have we not forgotten you, neither have we dealt falsely in your covenant, that even though certain things come upon you in life, you still can't charge Yah foolishly. We got to do better, because I know, I ain't even gonna lie to you, I done said some stupid stuff in prayer, knowing I needed to be slapped. If Yah's hand came out, I knew I would have threw it, had to repent later on, because I'm upset. That's not wise. We have to be more like our forefathers. We got to be more like Job, that even if we're going through life and going through trials, we're going through tests, we see calamity around us. We not eating. We don't have the money. We in debt. We can't be so foolish to think that Yah won't help us. But he will allow you to go through it. I'm not about to tell you a lie like he won't allow you to go through it. Yahushua had to die. Before Yahushua, you had David. David was running for his life for a few years. A man wanted to kill him, his own father-in-law, who he was enamored with, and was his mind was blown by him because y'all tripping. Y'all come to me as his servant, telling me to come here. Y'all think it's a light thing to be son-in-law to the king? He's saying this to them. One night he in his room with his wife, Michal telling him to get up on my daddy and the kid, and the man had to run away. His wife's daddy tried to kill him. His best friend's daddy threw a javelin in the wall, trying to kill him, searching him. Killed a whole bunch of Levites because they helped David. That's worse than being in debt thousands of dollars. You feeling the weight like blood on your hands because this man helped you. I should have did something to Doeg the Edomite. That came upon David's mind when he found out, when Ahimelech came to him and found out everybody was dead. 70 folks got killed. Men and women and kids was killed by Doeg the Edomite simply because David went down there. That's worse than being in debt. You think that's not on his mind, having to run for your life, trying to play crazy, knowing that if you go this way, you scared to die, so you start playing crazy, put spit in your beard, act like you some off with you. And they said, man, this man ain't got his fame no more. He tripping. This can't be the same one that killed the giant. Nah, send him away. He out of his mind. Then you dwelling in the cave like a nomad because this man searching for your life and your family come with you to the cave. I think that's worse than being in debt thousands of dollars. But one thing I think that's much more worse than being in debt thousands of dollars to be sold out, punched in your face, and told, prophesy who hit you. So we have to really put into perspective these things, not just on Shabbat, but all our whole life of what we're going through. That's why you read the word. It's for your learning, to give you comfort in situations like this. Because look what our forefathers going through. They said, you have sore brokenness in the place of dragons and covered us with the shadow of death. If we have forgotten the name of our Lord, stretch out our hands to a strange El or Lord, shall not the Most High search this out? For he knows the secrets of the hearts. So if you have really been sinning, or if you are a really righteous individual, the Most High will know. So it's you that has to stay consistent and not fall away even when stuff coming against you. So Yahusha, we're going to the next point. Maybe 27. Give me a second. Okay. Okay. Matthew 26:55. In that same hour, Yahushua said to the multitudes, are you come out against me as a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you teaching in the temple, and you laid no hold on me. But all this was done that the scriptures might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. I think that's worse than being in debt or not being married or not being in the place that you want to be in life yet. Everybody that you've been teaching for the past few years, they done left you even though you're not allowed. You left by your brethren. One of them get out his clothes and run naked. He's so scared. The one that you built the assembly on, Peter denied you 3 times. Even though Yahushua, you think that ain't hurt? Judas sold him out for some silver and kissed him on the cheek. You think that ain't hurt? That hurt a lot. He even prayed in the garden like, man, this cup, please let this cup pass from me. But nevertheless, not my will be done, but your will. And some things in life is got to be like that. You have to keep pushing. Job kept pushing. David kept pushing. Even our forefathers in their Psalms kept pushing, even though it was covered with the shadow of death. They kept pushing. They didn't stop. No, they kept their mind on straight and kept going. So you got to know that in your mind that silence is not absence. Just because God is quiet don't mean that he left you. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. His silence in this case, especially when you keeping the covenant of Yah, is not like Saul's case where he went to a witch. Saul should have kept it in his mind, even though that Yah is silent, I can repent, I can still pray. If I really have a pure heart, Yah will answer me. But that man kind of he was sealing himself to be left, to be forsaken, because he forsook God. You went to a witch. There's a difference between going through life and it's struggling and you staying, or going through life and struggling and then you going to a witch, or you going to somewhere else for help to get relief, to find out what's going on. There's a complete difference. So think about that. Just because Yah's silent don't mean that he absent from you, that don't mean that he forsake you. And loyalty shines when there is no reward in sight. That's one thing that you have to keep in mind. You have to be so solid with the individual, even though it don't seem good. That's also why you got to think when you're young and you want a marriage, because I done heard from every married person that I have encountered, and I've met some folks that have been married for 60 years. They said the same thing that my parents said. They've only been married 27. Sometimes you want to hit them in the head, you do. She said that to me. So the wisdom I heard in that every day ain't gonna be peaches and cream, but you still loyal, you still have love in your heart for this person because you made a vow, you made a covenant. If we have a relationship with God, it's deeper than just our feelings of how we feel. And that's what we got to change in our heart, regardless if you're 25 or you're 53 or you're 89, within that range, or 21, within that range. You still have to be loyal. You still have to have a relationship with Yah. You still have to have submission to Yah, regardless of what it is that you're going through, because it's more important than that. More important than how you feel. And Yah will teach you lessons. He'll take stuff away from you. And you can't think, oh, y'all don't love me, man. Stop saying foolish stuff like that. You charging y'all foolishly. You better understand that y'all do take and he give. But for you to know this knowledge and you still say ignorant stuff as if you don't know that y'all do this stuff. But he'll still be patient with you and still give you stuff if you hold out. It's more than that. Yahushua was here on this earth around 30 years old. Left from the right hand of the Father, was born, had to grow up and become a man in his 30s just to die. But when he was rose up again, guess what he received? And that's 30 some years. That's longer than 2 or 3. And he had to be obedient, even though he knew all this knowledge while he was coming down here. He didn't think that was robbery. He understood his task and knew why he was doing it. So if you say you reading all this stuff, stop charging y'all foolishly and being a fool and having angst in your heart because you don't want to get your way. You can be a grown boy, a grown girl. You can be a grown man or a grown woman and understand that Yah is deeper than just having materialistic things and get what you want. Are you being consistent? Do you remember what our forefathers were told? You got this whole testimony in your hand. You read this psalm and you forget what the Father do. He's take and he give. At least you alive. Some of them folks are getting straight cut up, slaughtered. That's what this psalm also brought out too. That's something that you need to keep in mind. And it don't feel good. It don't sound good either. Sometimes it puts some fear in your heart, but that's the fear of Yahuah to make you stay right. That's the beginning of wisdom, and that's what you need. It says, yea, for your sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. He even said that we are like sheep given to meat. You know what that means? Given for food. They're taking them sheep and cutting them up and fixing them for food. That's often because people eat every day. So to compare that to human beings, don't you? That's not scary, and you ain't had no apartment for a couple of years. You ain't got the money you want. You in debt, man. Stop. You ain't got no wife. Are you even doing what you're supposed to be doing? You ain't got no husband. Are you been doing what you're supposed to be doing? You ain't got the job you want. Have you been being loyal? Have you been being consistent? And if you really ask yourself that question, you need to tell yourself the truth and stop acting like, well, you're not when you continue to do the same thing. Then get on your little spree for 5 days and you fall off again for 5 months and figure out what consistency is and work toward it. Change some stuff in your daggone life and become the grown man and the grown woman you need to be instead of a big boy and a big girl in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s. Because loyalty go beyond having material things. The first thing that was said, if you be willing and obedient, you should eat the good of the land. Harvest take a while. You got to plant the seeds at the beginning of the spring. And it may still be cold. Some of the things maybe get frozen in the grass on some of them days. So it may take a while. You may have a hot summer, burn that stuff up. But that don't mean you know you still gotta eat. You know you still have a duty and a responsibility, so you can't stop. So what you gonna do? Like Jim Brown told Richard Pryor, what you gonna do, Rich? You can't talk to him as a friend. You gonna have to stop this crack, my brother, this cocaine. You told to burn yourself. Pour the alcohol and lit yourself on fire. Now you in the hospital with skin like baseball mitts. So what you gonna do, Isaiah? What you gonna do, Ruth, Michaela, Mesfin, Sister Phyllis, Ken, Shanice, Ashton, Malachi, Daddy, and Mama? What you gonna do? It's more than Nathaniel. It's more than just being in it for the moment, because you can be in anything for the moment and fall away. That's what the thorn in the ground was. You get it, receive the word with happiness. But when trials of life come upon you quick, you fall away because you had no foundation in you. But good ground got to go through it. Sometimes the good ground, like I was saying, get froze over. Sometimes it get burnt up. But it don't mean the soil toe up, don't mean the soil rotten. You still just got to learn how to till it, where to put it. You know how to take care of the fruit and the vegetables that you have, instead of falling off because stuff ain't going your way in the time that you want it. And the Most High will keep delaying it until you learn that lesson. The Most High let you find out some information that'll break your heart so you can learn the lessons. I'm going to be still because I done lost this person here and I ain't had to lose her, or I ain't had to lose him, or she wasn't the one for me, but I'm still over here in this area not doing right because I thought, no, I'm going to straighten my end up because I know I have a better, deeper responsibility than just me wanting a wife or having a wife, having a husband or wanting a husband, or wanting this money or wanting this job or wanting this career. It's deeper than that. Because guess what, y'all? You don't know how much longer you got, and these things can pass away. Kids dying in their sleep, just like old folks dying in their sleep. And that ain't no good news. That stuff sounds morbid. It's terrible to hear. But your loyalty goes deeper than just that. Because what are your feet planted on? That's the importance of that. Think about that. So you don't switch sides when the fire comes. You dig deeper. Because y'all gonna see who is real when it hurts. Are you still gonna cling to the covenant? Because you gotta be able to continue to push through even with no food on the daggum counter. What if all the resources that you had for when the seeds run out? What if somebody come and pillage you, but you left with your life? Praise how you left with your life, and you got to depend on him. Because Elijah didn't have time to store stuff up. He had to go to a woman that was storing stuff up and was finna eat at the rest of their food. But they was able to be provided for months because the Most High kept his word, provided for Elijah. And before the brook dried up, he drank from the brook, and ravens came to feed him. That man ain't had no time to store up. This man fled immediately when he heard what Jezebel said. You think that's fun to hear, man? That's I'm terrifying. I know if I would have heard something like that, I would have did the same thing Elijah heard, because I ain't trying to get shot, ain't trying to get my face blown off, ain't trying to get nobody to cut my head off. I don't want none of that. Even when Herod was looking for was looking for Yahushua when he was a baby, his daddy had taken a detour to Egypt for a couple years. Because that's real life. Folks want to kill. But when stuff was over, he went back. And when folks trying to kill him, guess what? He went off until it was his time, and he was found in the garden where he was supposed to be at the time he was supposed to go. Because y'all gonna know who real and who fake. You're gonna be purged out just like Judas, and you don't want to be found as Judas. That's the scary thing about it because you can be or you cannot be. It depends on the choices you make and the integrity you have in your heart. Are you clinging to the covenant or not? Because that's what's important. Loyalty without benefit proves that the heart won't bow to another God because you ain't got the benefits behind who you believing in. But you still believe in him because you know heard what it can do, and you waiting on that, you banking on that. Even though your folks getting gave up, even though you're getting hosed down and you getting lynched and you getting murdered and people, your folks selling you out, doing spells and curses on you, you still gonna believe y'all regardless of what people say, blaspheming them, changing stuff up, coming up with new doctrines. You still gotta believe in them, regardless of what people say. That's what the importance is. Because if all this is hurting you still sticking with y'all, that proves that you're true because you didn't bow to another God. Because that's what matters. So really have that in your heart. Another thing that I want to bang on to, it says, my confusion, verse 15, my confusion is continually before me. The shame of face has covered me. Man, going through it, he like, man, what is going on? But he didn't let that deter him. Because guess what? That's also a testament for him being a human being. You're going to have crazy thoughts in your mind. You got the knowledge of good and evil. You're going to have thoughts saying, man, maybe it ain't going to happen. But you still stick to it. As a part of being a human, Yahushua cried in the garden. It's like if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. You think he ain't wanna? You think he wanted to just die? No, but he went through with it because he kept a word and he believed what his father said. Even when it looked bad, he got back up. The word says that he was at all points tempted as we were, yet without sin. That's why he is the author and the finisher of our faith. So we can look unto him and approach the throne of grace boldly because he understands exactly what you go through in your mind. Look at the book of Matthew. My daddy told me this one time. Me and him was having a conversation because I was dealing with something. Stuff gonna go through your mind. You can't stop that. You know, church try to say the devil appeared to him, which I believe he did. But the devil don't always appear physically. One thing that you did that Adam did at the beginning was ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He gave the adversary access to us. So that's why you're tempted. And these things come into your mind. Don't think Yahushua was any different. And this is some fantastical story that you read in the fable. No, this is true. Yahushua went to the wilderness to be tempted. You think these thoughts didn't come into his mind? You think the devil just started talking to him? Man, those thoughts probably came into his mind. He on the high mountain. Man, I can jump right now. My father protect me. Think the thoughts ain't come to his mind? You think we ain't got no food on the counter? Is the father gonna come through, man? What's going on? Those thoughts come to your mind. And to tell me that they don't, you a liar. But you gotta combat it with the word. Yahushua written in the volume of the book, because look at this. It says, then was Yahushua led up of the Ruach into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterwards and hungered, or very hungry. And when the tempter came to him, he said, if you be the son of the Most High, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. He said it is written. So that means he studied, he heard what the forefather said. He paid attention to that. And the point I was trying to make about what my daddy said, the adversary could have came to Yahushua's mind. He had to be there physically. He in the wilderness by himself. He hungry. Didn't anybody watching him? He could have got that piece of stone right there, picked it up. Man, I was starving. Thank you, Father. But he put that stone down. He said, It is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that he. So he fight up here, right there in his mind. Because that's what the adversary coming to tempt. He gonna make suggestions to you. It's up to you to make the right choice or the wrong choice, to give in to your flesh or not to give in. You don't have to sin. You don't have to be a fornicator. You don't have to be an adulterer. You don't have to be a liar. But those things seem easy when you have your desire for your flesh and your desire for whatever you want is stronger than your relationship with Yah. But Yahushua's relationship was so strong with Yah that he said it, because it's not a religious thing. I used to read this and try to be so deep in religious on my fast, but I realized it's a choice I gotta make. I ain't gotta lie. I can just have integrity. And in order for me to not lie, I can just be integrity and do my job. So I don't have to, so I don't feel the need to do this to cover my tracks and feel bad later when I could just have integrity from the jump and do what I'm supposed to do because I said I love my dad and my mama. I said I love Yah because it's deeper than just you talking about it. Demons believe and they tremble. So it don't matter if you believe or not. Believing is more so doing. Obedience is better than sacrifice. It says, Then the devil takes him up into the holy city and sets him on the pinnacle of the temple and says unto him, If you be the Son of the Most High, cast yourself down, for it is written, He shall give His angels charge concerning you. And in their hands they shall bear you up, lest at any time you dash your foot against a stone. Yahushua said unto me, It is written again, You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power. You know, a man that's single or a woman that's single will go to Exodus 22 because they want to have sex. You know what they say? And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. It's written, man, if I have sex with this girl, that's my woman. But they forgot verse 17. If her father utterly refused to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. You just fornicated like a dummy. But it's also written in 1 Corinthians 6, Know you not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High? Be not deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of the Most High. That's what's written too. So it don't matter if you just want to go get your son off, or you want to tell a lie. You ain't going to inherit the kingdom of the Most High. So think about that. Back to Matthew. All that stuff could be in your heart that you want to do. Last thing I'm gonna hit. It says, and the devil takes him up into an exceeding high mountain and shows him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and says unto him, All these things will I give you if you will fall down and worship me. Then said Yahushua unto him, Get you hence, Satan, for it is written, You shall worship Yahuwah your power, and him only shall you serve. Then the devil leaves him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. That sounded enticing to him. It sounded right to his flesh, to his mind. Just like the psalmist, he confused about what's going on. Yeah, we keeping your covenant. We dying though. We getting killed like sheep. But it said, after all this, we never dealt falsely with your covenant. That's how we have to be. We have to stay steadfast because it's more important than just getting what you want and what you desire. It's more so about your relationship with Yahuah. Praise Yah. Brother Malachi.
Right, you all. We're going to go ahead and move on to Psalms 45. And it says, to the chief musician upon Shoshanim for the sons of Korah, Mashiach, a son
Hey,
of
Malik,
Lo.
I can't hear you. Sound kind of far out. Give me 1 second, bro.
Can y'all
Okay,
hear me?
I can now. I think I was just connected to something else. All right, brother.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Psalms 45. It says, to the chief musician, can you go back up? It says, to the chief musician upon Shoshanim for the sons of Korah, Mashiach, a song of loves. My heart is inditing a good matter. I speak of things which I have made touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. Thou art fairer than the children of men. Grace is poured into thy lips. Therefore, Yahuah hath blessed thee forever. Gird thy sword upon thy thigh, O most mighty, thy esteem and thy majesty. And in thy majesty ride prosperously because of truth and meekness and righteousness. And thy right hand shall teach thee terrible things. Thine arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies, whereby the people fall under thee. Thy throne, O Yahuwah, is forever and ever. The scepter of thy kingdom is a right scepter. Thou lovest righteousness and hatest wickedness. Before Yahuwah, thy power, thy master, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. All thy garments smell of myrrh and aloes and cassia out of the ivory palaces, whereby they have made thee glad. King's daughters were among thy honorable women. Upon thy right hand the queen did stand the queen in gold of Ophir. Hearken, O daughter, and consider, and incline thine ear. Forget also thine own people and thy father's house. So shall the king greatly desire thy beauty, for he is thy master, and worship thou him. The daughter of Tyre shall be there with a gift. Even the rich among the people shall entreat thy favor. King's daughter is all glorious within. Her clothing is wrought of gold. She shall be brought unto the king in raiment of needlework. The virgins, her companions that follow her, shall be brought unto thee. With gladness and rejoicing shall they be brought. They shall enter into the king's palace. Instead of thy fathers shall be thy children, whom thou mayest make princes in all the earth. I will make thy name to be remembered in all generations. Therefore shall the people praise thee forever and ever. Praise Yah. So let's go back up to the top. So one thing that is befitting of the righteous is to praise Yah. The opening of this is so beautiful, I think. It says, my heart is inditing a good matter. When you look at inditing, it means gush. So it's really, his heart is really thinking about this. It's something that's good. And he speak of the things which I have made touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. And the descriptions that we see here are amazing. Can we go down a little bit to verse 4? It says, and in thy majesty ride prosperously because of truth and meekness and righteousness, and thy hands shall teach thee terrible things. I think oftentimes when I am following the commandments, when I'm doing what's right, there's a sense of dignity and esteem that we can take in Yah. And that's what's being described here. It's just the graciousness and the majesty of Yah. And our mindset, we should always be thinking highly. We should always be ready to say something that is good about Yah. Um, Yah is to be desired. Yah is amazing, and He makes us amazing, right? Our light shines through Him. Um, and I think that's always wonderful uh, to think about when you really consider who Yah is supposed to be is in our life. He's at the top, right? Let's go to Matthew 10 and 37. Oh, wait, no, my apologies. Let's go to Luke 24. Luke 24:32. You know, when the disciples were around Yahushua was teaching the word. The word was amazing to him. You know, I strongly believe, and I have experienced for myself, when you are studying the word and you talking with people about the word, your heart burns within you because you know what's being said. You can really take what's being said in awe, and really reveal what Yah is saying. And so this is after Yahusha came back and they were talking, they said one to another, did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us by the way, and while he opened up the scriptures to us? And when you really think about that, that's because Yahusha knew the word. It's important that we understand who Yah is, that we know the word, right? So that we can feel that when he is talking to us, so that we can feel the Ruach HaKodesh, right? And look at the situation. Yahusha just died, right? But still, again, he's coming back and he is encouraging them through the midst of everything that is going on. And when you really consider that's how we have to be. This chapter, Psalms 45, is pretty related to the previous chapter in terms of there's a lot of stuff that can be happening and going on in our lives, but we have to be able to see beyond. We have to be able to trust Yah. You can't always look at what's physical. Praising Yah or Yahusha and Yah in hard times is spiritual warfare. It's what silences the enemy. Let's go to Jeremiah 15. I think one of the misconceptions that a lot of us have, let's go to verse 20, is I think one of the misconceptions that a lot of us have is everything is always peaches and cream, is always roses. That Yah don't give you no no hard work to do. He doesn't give you anything that might be tough, but most of the time, that's really what he brings to the table when he has you to serve him. And Yahushua wasn't the only one, but I want to give this example of Jeremiah, because he had to do a lot in the midst of everything that was going on. And I'm gonna start at verse 19. He said, therefore, thus says Yahuwah, if you return, then will I bring thee again, and you shall stand before me. And if you take forth the precious from the vial, you should be as my mouth. Let them return unto thee, but return you not unto them. And I will make thee unto this people a fenced brazen wall, and they shall fight against thee, but they shall not prevail against thee, for I am Yahuwah with thee, to save thee and to deliver thee, saith Yahuwah. I will deliver thee out of the hand of the wicked, and I will redeem thee out of the hand of the terrible. Now let's go to Jeremiah 38. So y'all told him, y'all told Jeremiah that he would not allow the people to overcome him, that he wouldn't allow them to destroy him, and that he would save him. But as we all know, a lot of stuff happened, right? Things got pretty rough. And so I'm gonna start off at verse 1. This is a few chapters later, so some time has passed since the word that Yah gave Jeremiah. It says, then Shephatiah the son of Matan, and Gedaliah the son of Pashur, and Jukal the son of Shelemiah, and Pashur the son of Malchiah heard the words that Jeremiah had spoken unto all the people, saying, thus saith Yahuwah, he that remaineth in this city shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. But he that goeth forth to the Chaldeans shall live, for he shall have his life for a prey, and shall live. Thus saith Yahuwah, the city shall surely be given into the hand of the king of Babylon's army, which shall take it. Therefore the princes said unto the king, we beseech thee, let this man be put to death, for thus he weakeneth the hands of men of war. Can you scroll up? That remain in this city, and the hands of all the people, and speaking such words unto them. For this man seeketh not the welfare of this people, but the hurt. Then Zedekiah the king said, behold, he is in your hand, for the king is not that he can do anything against you. Then took they Jeremiah and cast him into the dungeon of Malchiah, the son of Hamelech, that was in the court of the prison, and they let down Jeremiah with cords into the dungeon where there was no water but mire. So Jeremiah sunk in the mire. Now, from a natural perspective, this looks messy, but what does that have to do with who Yah maintains and who Yah still is? Even though Jeremiah just got thrown into, and we know mire is mud, it's a muddy pit. He got thrown into basically a marsh, you know, pretty much just a bunch of mud and water, and he sunk down. He ain't got nothing to drink, all because he did what y'all told him to do. And you can look at that, and a lot of us, most of us, we lose faith, when things like this happen. Y'all tell you to go do something, you go do it. It's something like this happen. You get thrown into a pit. You can't see nothing. You ain't got no water. You just sitting there to die, all because you did what y'all told you to do. But that has nothing to do with y'all not being worthy. Y'all still the king. Y'all still on the throne. Y'all still who precedes. Y'all oversees everybody, regardless of what is going on. And so let's go to Lamentations 3 and 53. Because I want us to really see how Jeremiah was feeling it, and what he was experiencing in this moment. And he said, "They have cut off my life in the dungeon and cast a stone upon me. Waters flowed over my head. He's submerged in there." Then he said, "I am cut off. Think you finna die." But what did he do? I called upon thy name, O Yahuah, out of the low dungeon. Thou hast heard my voice. Hide not thine ear at my breathing, at my cry. Thou drewest near the day that I called upon thee. Thou said, Fear not. O Yahuwah, thou hast pleaded the causes of my soul. Thou hast redeemed my life. O Yahuwah, thou hast seen my wrong. Judge thou my cause. Thou hast seen all their vengeance and all their imaginations against me. Thou hast heard their reproach, O Yahuwah, and all their imaginations against me. The lips of those that rose up against me and their device against me all the day. Behold, they're sitting down and they're rising up. I am their music. Render unto them a recompense, O Yah, according to the work of their hands. Give them sorrow of heart, thy curse unto them. Persecute and destroy them in anger from under the heavens of Yah. And we know that happened in Jeremiah 38, right? So Jeremiah goes all the way to, I believe, 52 chapters. So he got up out of there, and in here he's rejoicing because he said that Yah heard his voice, his reproach. And so that's where you cannot let your tongue stay silent when you are in situations of distress. You have to cry out. And you also always have to give Yah praise, because no matter what it's looking like, Yah is still the king. He's still on the throne. If your lips don't move for your king, what kingdom are you in? If Jeremiah would have gave up hope, what would have happened to him in that moment? You can go back to Psalms 45. But what would have happened to him in that moment? What happens to us in those moments where we, may be struggling, and something like that happen, and we just give up and we start saying things that are wrong or that are unrighteous, or we start cursing at Yah? You think that Yah is still going to hear you? You think that Yah is going to save you from whatever situation that you're in? He won't. We have to maintain the faith that we have in Yah. We have to speak of the king. That's the mark of the bride. Let's go to verse 10. Right. You have not because you ask not. Let's go to verse 10. It says, Hearken, O daughter, and consider and incline thine ear. Forget also thine own people and thy father's house. So shall the king greatly desire thy beauty, for he is thy master, and worship thou him. Now, I think it is, and when you think of, so let's say let's put ourselves in a situation where, male or female, the king or the queen, you're gonna marry them. Whenever you get married, you become one, right, with whoever this new person is, and you leave your mother and father and you cling to who? Your wife. So can you become one with somebody if you consistently thinking of mama and daddy, brother and sister? No, you can't. That's not possible. In order for you to become one with Yah, you gotta be thinking of him. That's who goes first. When you get married, who becomes the most important in your life outside of Yah? Your husband or your wife. And if Yah is our mighty one, who becomes the most important in our life? Yah does. So we have to forget, to the flesh, it can seem like, man, I can't, I can't go back. That man, he in the Gospels, when Yahushua was talking to him, He said, I gotta go back to my mother and my father, I gotta go say bye one time. And Yahushua told him, you go back, say bye, you might as well go ahead and stay. Otherwise, you can come to me. Let's go to Matthew 10 and 37. Yahushua said, he that loveth father and mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth the son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. So we got to think about that. How can we be desirable to our spouse if we always thinking of somebody else? You can't be. You can only be desirable to your spouse when, hey, I know you only think of me. I know you only love me. So how can we become desirable to Yah if we go into a kingdom, if we're gonna be a part of his kingdom? We only think of him. We don't bow to anything or anybody else. And a lot of that takes from being able to detach from whatever else you were a part of. It comes with sacrifice. I'm gonna read a little bit more of this. It says, and he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. He that receiveth you receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. So everything about you has to change. You have to be renewed. Your mindset, your thoughts have to be focused on Yah, which to the flesh is grueling. I know a lot of times when it comes to the scripture, you're reading the commandments, man, some of the stuff is easy, right? But everybody got something more or less that they struggle with. Some of us, I've been watching a show lately about arsonists. Some of us might be arsonists. Some of us might be thieves. Some of us might be violent. So we like to fight. We might even be murderers. Some of us deal with struggles with money. So it's some of the commandments you don't ever have no problems breaking, but I guarantee you it's one of them that you struggle with. I guarantee you it is, because we all have a form of temptation. Every man is drawn and enticed by the bait of his own lust, right? And when it comes to actually following those commandments, you probably trespass from time to time. Whether you fall quite often or which definitely not good, but or maybe you fall from time to time. But there's a lot of work that has to be done there, right? When it comes to that. Because if you're not willing to sacrifice, if you're not willing to say no to yourself, then you're not worthy of the Messiah. You're not worthy of the Father. And that doesn't mean that we don't have Yah's grace, because Yah's grace is sufficient for us. But there is a point where we have to make a choice, where we have to make a decision. Yah does not marry a divided heart. Yeah, there is no division. And yeah, there is no confusion. And yeah, the scripture says exactly what we're supposed to do. And we're supposed to follow those. There's no back and forth. There's no I choose this one, I choose that one. It's all of it or nothing. And with those changes comes changes in lifestyle, changes in habit, changes in who you hang around, changes in what you do on a consistent basis. And sometimes a lot of us struggle, right? Maybe you're a real tight-knit family. And we already know you're supposed to forget your own people, your mother and your father, your children and your daughters, but you just gotta a real tight relationship with them, but they don't want to serve Yah, and they may want you to do certain things at certain times that put you in a position of compromise. Because I want to be clear, I'm not saying you can't be around people. You can always be a light, you can always be a witness, but it's your acts, your decisions, how you may compromise or not, depending on where you at. Right. And if you still compromising, if you're still doing things that you shouldn't be doing, and how are you ready for a royal covenant? How are you ready for a marriage with somebody when you think about other people and what they want is more important than what this is going to be? This is who you're tying yourself to. You can't continue to tie yourself to old ways, old doings, and old thinking. You can't bring old baggage into the king's chamber. And that's what is so important about being set apart. I know in my life it's taken some time, but I don't do nothing on the Shabbat. I'm not buying nothing. I'm not doing anything against the commandments on the Shabbat. That day is supposed to be Kodesh, right? And a lot of people will have events going on the Shabbat, and they'll ask me, hey, you want to come? And I'm like, hey, nah, I got service that I do on the Shabbat. I can't do nothing today. People will, typically continue to ask you, and sometimes when people are continuing to ask you certain things, trying to get you to do certain things, it always becomes a point of contention to the point where you're like, man, well, why, why I gotta be doing this? But see, that's what makes you set apart. The fact that you don't, the fact that they don't see you doing what everybody else does, right? That's what sets you apart in the eyes of Yah, because purity is separation. That's what purity is. Purity is being set apart, doing the things that nobody else does and not doing the things that everybody else does. That's what makes you desirable to Yah. When he sees you keeping the commandments, when he sees you keeping the Shabbat, that nobody else does that. When he sees you going to the feast and not seeing other people go and do those things. And that's what helps us to build a relationship with him, because that doesn't always feel good. And that's when the word has to become real to us, right? Do you think you believe in something imaginary, or do you believe that Yah is real? Can you go, oh, back in here. Can you go back to the top? Is your heart inditing a good matter? Is your tongue ready to write? How do you describe Yah? How do you esteem him? How do you look at him? How do you view him? Do you believe that he is meek and righteous? Do you believe that he can teach thee terrible things? Do you believe that he has a arrow sharp in the heart of the king's enemies? Do you believe that his throne is forever? Do you believe that he loves the righteous and hates the wicked? Because if you don't, I promise you, if you don't, you'll fall away. You won't be pure. You won't be separate. You'll go into what other people do and what they think because you don't believe. And then you can't have a covenant. You can't be the bride that he wants you to be. And that's where you can fall away. You know, uh, we can go into 46. All right. So I'll go ahead and read it, and then we can dive into it. It says, to the chief musician, the sons of Korah, a song upon Alamoth. Yahuwah is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. Salah, there is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of Yahuwah, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. Yahuwah is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. Yahuwah shall help her, and that right early. The heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered this voice, the earth melted. Yahuwah of hosts is with us. The power of Jacob is our refuge. Salah. Come, behold the works of the master, Yah. What desolations he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow, and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am Yahuwah. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Yahuwah of hosts is with us. All right, you can go ahead, Isaiah, and I'll tag me in a little bit.
All right, brother. Praise Yah. Give me one moment. I'm still here. I have not went anywhere. All right. Oh, you done it? Okay. It says, The Most High, Yah, is our refuge and strength. Hey, Lord, can you get the fan out? A very, a very present help in trouble. Okay, so one thing that really comes to mind, I love to use David, but a lot of the kings of Judah. It's not. You had a you had a few on there fell away, walked in the ways of Ahab, started serving Baal, walked in the ways of Israel. But you had quite a few that did not, like Hezekiah, like Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat, he did some foolish stuff. But even Asa was a good king. The thing that the Most High has against Asa was him going to the king of Syria to get help against Baasha, an Israelite, his own brother. And he sold things out of the temple and gave them. That was the problem that Yah had with Asa. But he even helped Asa when the foreign king came against him. He helped Hezekiah against Sennacherib. He was very present. He was right there. So even though you're gonna go through wars, some people may lose their life. And you know that from reading. If you read the book of Judges, when the Benjamites sinned against the Most High, and they did that foolishness, um, by one first wanted to get with that man, but then he gave his concubine up. They raped her all night till she did not move. They were some fans, if you understand what I'm talking. They were some freaks. Hey, that's terrible. That's very wicked. That's lewdness. That's not that's beyond good, ill. She died. But when those wars were happening, right? Some of those people from the other tribe, Benjamin was knocking them loose, killed a lot of them. But that didn't mean they had to stop fighting. The most I told them keep fighting, fast, fight. And eventually they beat the brakes off Benjamin till they had to stop and had to come up with something so the Benjamites could get some wives. So even as we see in Psalm 44, some things may happen that you don't want to happen, but even when it's going bad or it's rough, Yah will still come and help you. So he's a very present help in trouble. And as I start making sense, my dad says as I get older, what we think be so wild, like being in debt, we think that's trouble. We expecting Yah to come through. We need help right now, and he don't come through. You still got to remain consistent. But when somebody after your life or a war going on and the bomb drop and your house the only one standing or you protected and you ain't have no shelter, that's the trouble that y'all protected you from. It's not saying that all of it's not trouble and stuff that may be on our minds, but being in debt versus being saved from a bomb, I'm gonna choose being saved from a bomb every time and twice on Sunday. Especially, I know it's the hand of Yah. I was talking to my niece, we was watching the Chronicles of Narnia. We were talking about going to war. And my main Peter, he couldn't kill the king. But the king was trying to kill him. I was right there just commentating. I would knock that man head off. My niece could believe what I was saying. So I just started going in, telling them why I would do that. Man, first I'm fighting for my family. I know this man, if I don't do it, I'm gonna be in trouble. My head gone. Or I'm stabbed through, I'm taken as captive because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, kind of like one of the kings of Israel. He should have beat the ground a couple more times. But since he didn't, he got the fourth battle and the fifth battle, he lost, and they were taken captives because he didn't finish his duty and do what he was supposed to do and really had anger and angst against his enemies. Because Yah would have been with him. If we really have faith in Yah, we going to fight. How you know you can't block a bullet with your bare hand? It's later on in the chapter, so they're gonna cut the bows asunder. Man, he can use wind and blow down a citadel. If y'all look at the news right now, look it up. It was a 515-mile long lightning strike that traveled from Texas to Missouri. It touched from one state to another over 515 miles. He can touch you from the heavens. That's a long strike of fire from the sky. He got you. He is your refuge. It's a verse in here I be seeing girls be putting in they bios on Instagram and social media that don't be understanding what they talking about. Talking about some, God is with her. She shall not be moved. She'll help her in that right early. The whole time she is a harlot. I mean, let's keep it 100. But they don't understand what that verse coming from. We're talking about the earth. Talking about Jerusalem specifically. If the whole earth is yours. But what his name was, he talking about that. She ain't gonna fail. The land you ain't gonna go through no famine. I'm not gonna let these floods overtake you. I'm gonna hold down waters. I'm gonna push back the overflowing of the Jordan so y'all can step through. I'll split the sea apart for you to walk through. Dry side, no water on the bottom of your shoes. It's so dry, I feel like the Sahara, but you see water standing up as heaps beside you. Because that's where Yahuah is. This earth is his. If he can send a lightning strike from one state to another, I know for a fact, I wholeheartedly believe in my heart and know that he can make water stand on heaps. But the thing about it, y'all, guess what? You want to know the reality of it? You might just see trouble. That don't mean he gonna fail you. He can uproot a 45-foot tall tree and knock it down to the ground. Crush houses where your enemy's at. He don't have to have a missile strike. You ever heard of a tornado? A water spout? A tsunami? They can knock out whole islands like, man, they ain't never been there. We won't even talk about it because we ain't know who was over there. He can do that. Angels. He got that. He can send legions. He can send mice to eat your food. He can send hornets after you. This is Yah's. He's a strength and a very present help in trouble. So you don't have to fear. Even though the earth be removed and the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, you will be okay. A tsunami can knock down the city next to you, but the whole time you standing up because you good. The Father protect you because he's caring and he loves you. So think about that. You got to learn how to be still and know that he is Yah, even though an earthquake is going on. That's the fear. Do you learn the fear of Yah? If an earthquake go on beside me, man, yeah, I'm gonna get down to my knee. I'm probably gonna cry. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I used to be a little boy, man. Tornado will win. Man, I see my nieces do it now. It be funny to me. I seen Ariella book it to the front quickly. Light was flicking a couple months ago. Layla took off running. I understood how they felt because I was once in that position. If I see a hurricane by me or to a tsunami, man, you think what? No, I'm finna, yeah, please. And you protect it. The word says that you don't have to fear. Though the earth be removed and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, you can be still and know that Yah is Allure. Where else do we hear that? It was told, tell the children of Israel that. Exodus 14. Let's just read it. The specific verse we're going to get to, verse 13. We're going to read up to that. It says, and Yah spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel that they turn and encamp before Pahahiro, between Migdol and the sea, and over against Baal-Zephon. For it you shall encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land. The wilderness has shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart that he shall follow after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am Yahuah. And they did so. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this? That we have let Israel go from serving us. And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots and the chariots of Egypt and captains over every one of them. Man, there's a lot of folks. 600 chariots, chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt. And all, that's 600 chosen, like you the super, basically. That's a lot of that's 600 chosen super chariots and regular chariots beside them. That's a lot of people with swords and staves and javelins coming to kill you. You think they'd have trepidation in their heart? Let's read. They did. It says, and Yah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out with an high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them, encamping by the sea, beside Pahahiroth, before Baal-zephon, where Yah said they was going to be. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. And they were so afraid, and the children of Israel cried out unto Yah. They said unto Moses, because there was no graves in Egypt, have you taken us to die in the wilderness? Why have you dealt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell you in Egypt, saying, leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians that we should die in the wilderness than that we should die in the wilderness. And Moses said unto the people, man, fear not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahuah, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever. Yahuah shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. Verse 13 said, and Moses said unto the people, fear you not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahuah, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever. So what if you don't die in that bomb? So what if they do shoot at you and the bullets straight fall flat to the ground when you know they was going at top speed, breaking sound barriers? What if you do continue to trust in Yah? The word says that you can. You can have faith. You don't have to be afraid of your enemy. They were encamped by the sea, so it looked like they had nowhere to go. That's a terrible sight. They got so scared of them, man. There's a sea in front of us, and if we go that way, we dead. 100% fact. They thinking all this. But the word says that Yah is in her, she shall not fail. So guess what he told Moses to do? And Yah said unto Moses, wherefore are you crying to me? Speaking to the children of Israel that they go forth, but lift you up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. It was only divided by the power of Yah. He sent the east wind all that night and lifted it up so they could walk over dry. So what we see as trouble versus what Yah sees as trouble, one, there is a big difference. And we have to notice what Yah sees as trouble. It could be so minute, a light thing. They could blow east wind all night and split the sea. So take that into account and think about that. All right, brother.
So on on that same note, when you look at the word as a whole, especially what Yahushua prophesied in the end times when he's gonna come back, God has been saying the same thing for a very long time. Let's look at verse 6. It says the heathen raged and the kingdoms were moved. But then it says he uttered his voice, the earth melted. So I want to ask the question of, do we really believe that Yah is in control of everything? Do we believe that he is coming back? Because we look at the world today and we got all these countries, these nations, they don't serve Yah and they have control. But when Yah is in control, it says the earth will melt. So I want to read Zephaniah chapter 3, 8 through 9. Says, therefore, wait you upon me, saith Yahuah, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of Yahuah to serve him with one consent. That's one example. Let's go to Joel 2, Joel 2:27. Because, and what I'm getting at is that Yah is going to come back. He has to fulfill his promise and his covenant to Abraham. Right. So even though we are mixed and we are dispersed everywhere, right? Men do whatever they want. We don't really have any power as men. Yah still has all the power. And so verse 27 says, and you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am Yahuah, your power, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirits. And I will show wonders in the heavens and the earth, and fire and the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of Yahuwah come. Right. And again, I think another wonderful example of Yah coming back and Yah being in control, gathering the nations, pouring out his wrath, using the heavens and the earth, blood, fire, pillars of smoke, probably not too different from Exodus 20, when he showed his greatness when he was giving us the commandments. Let's go to Micah 7, 18 and 20, verse 18. And it says, who is a Yahuwah like unto thee, that pardoneth iniquity, and passeth by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? He retaineth not his anger forever, because he delighteth in mercy. He will turn again, he will have compassion upon us. He will subdue our iniquities, and thou will cast all our sins into the depths of the sea. Thou will perform the truth to Jacob, and the mercy to Abraham, which thou hast sworn unto our fathers from the days of old. And you can go back to Psalms 46. And I think it's so important to understand. Go down to verse 7. I think it's so important for us to understand what we were just reading, because here it says, the Yahuwah of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Micah says that Yah is going to perform the promise that he gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yah is going to gather us, beyond everything that we see today. One day he is going to get us all. He's still in control. The heathen rage, the kingdoms will move. But when Yah speaks, the earth is under his command. And so it doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter what's going on on a daily basis, right? Like as we mentioned earlier, whether you're in debt, whether you're struggling, whether you don't have nothing, even at the point of maybe even losing your life, Yah is still in control. And one day, as his children, he's going to pull us all back to him. You know, my apologies, y'all. But I think with all of that being considered, the river that flows from Yah's throne is stronger than anything that's around you. So when it comes to life's decisions, stop reacting and start resting in what you know. If you know, based off of all of these scriptures, because these are what Yahushua was pulling from when he was talking about him coming back. Everything Yahushua taught us coming straight from the scripture. That same terrible day, that's the same day Yahushua is going to come back. If you know he's coming back, What do you have to what do you have to be wrestling with in your spirit? Shouldn't you have shalom? If fear is louder than faith, who's really your refuge? If you're afraid of what's going on and what's happening in your life, how can you say that you trust in Yah? The earth may shake, the waters may roar, but Yah never moves. Yah is what causes those things to happen. Can't no man do nothing. All right, Isaiah.
Praise Yah. And another point I want to touch on too, that panic does not move Yah. Faith does. And you can even look at the situation in Second Chronicles chapter 20 with Jehoshaphat when the Ammonites, the Moabites, and the Edomites came upon them out the blue. And when Yah said, those three nations don't touch, I didn't give you none of their land. So for them to come upon Jehoshaphat and during his reign, that brought some concern. Though he feared, look what he did. Says, and it came to pass after this also that the children of Moab and the children of Ammon, and with them other beside the Ammonites, came against Jehoshaphat to battle. Then there came some that told Jehoshaphat, saying, there comes a great multitude against you from beyond the sea on this side Syria. And behold, they be in Hazazon Tamar, which is in Gedi. And Jehoshaphat feared and set himself to seek Yahuah and proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah. And Judah gathered themselves together to ask help of Yahuah. Even out of all the cities of Judah, they came to seek Yah. And Jehoshaphat stood in the congregation of Judah and Jerusalem in the house of Yah before the new court. And they prayed. And I want y'all to take y'all time to read out their prayer. But when they prayed, he brought up a good point in verse 10. It says, and now, behold, the children of Ammon and Moab and Mount Seir, aka the Edomites, whom you would not let Israel invade when they came out of the land of Egypt, but they turned from them and destroyed them not. Behold, I say how they reward us to come to cast us out of your possession, which you have given us to inherit. O our Yahuah, will you not judge them? For we have no might against this great company that comes against us, neither know we what to do, but our eyes are upon you. They trusted in Yah rather than trying to go fight. So the prophet rose up and told them. It says, and upon Jahaziel, the son of Zechariah, the son of Benaiah, the son of Jael, the son of Mattaniah, a Levite of the sons of Asaph, came the spirit of Yahuah in the midst of the congregation. And he said, hearken you, all Judah, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem, and you, King Jehoshaphat. Thus saith Yah unto you, be not afraid, nor dismayed by reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but the Most High's. Tomorrow go you down against them. Behold, they come upon the cliff of Ziz, and you shall find them at the end of the brook before the wilderness, the Jeruel. So they were told not to fear. Look, verse 17, it says, you shall not need to fight in this battle. Set yourselves, stand you still and see the salvation of Yah with you, O Judah and Jerusalem. Fear not, nor be dismayed. Tomorrow go out against them, for Yahuah will be with you. Why? Because the battle is not yours, but Yahuah's. That's what they're told. So Yah don't move by panic. He moves by faith. He didn't go out there, oh, you know who did panic? Asa. He panicked and made a bad decision by giving over, made a treaty with the king of Syria to break his treaty with Baasha. That's panic. Yah was displeased with him panicking. When you panic, you make bad decisions, and I can attest to that. Man, I can't stand me personally, and I'm growing. I don't like contention. I used to run away from it. I can't stand it. But I ain't finna just let you bust me in my head. No, not no more. I gotta stand on it because y'all will protect. What if I do fight and I'm protected and I can whoop down the main the size of Mike Tyson and I'm over here a buck 50 because it's the power of Yahuah. David, a short man, knocked down a 9-foot beast called Goliath, a giant. He was a champion in Philistia. Think about that. Because he stood tall and did not cower out. He embraced the contention and had faith in Yah. He believed that Yah would protect him because he was defending Yah. He wasn't defending himself. He didn't panic and run away. Yah was defending his name. So even if the heathen raged like Goliath, you don't have to run away. The last verse says, Yahuah of hosts is with us. The power of Jacob is our refuge, Salah. Yahuah of hosts. We automatically think of warriors. And I'm not saying, because Yahuah's coming with 1,000 pound, thousand, and myriad of soldiers. We know that that's written. But don't think that a tsunami is not his host either. He spoke the earth into existence, y'all. The sun rose today because he commanded it, got his ordination on it. The moon go through its phases because he said so. He the one turning the moon black or to blood. He the one knocking the stars out the sky. He the one that's gonna roll up the sky like a scroll. He the one that's gonna tear this situation up. So don't think it's just angels that he got. Y'all not weak, man. He can take a tree limb and knock you loose and take your life. Look at Absalom. His hair used just so long and that tree limb just so happened to be right there. Man, stop. Y'all already knew what was going on. I know. That tree limb just so happened to be right there. And he knew the path that Absalom was going to ride on that donkey. He already understood that tree helped in his death. Y'all can't flood you out. I disagree. He floods you out. He can take famine. He can make the earth like stone. He can make the sky like brass and it won't rain. He can starve you out of the situation that you're in. So Yahuah of hosts, that means everything. The earth is Yahuah's and the fullness thereof. He can take water and drown you. That's how we have to learn the fear of Yahuah. But we fear him because we know he can do these things, but we have faith in him because we have a relationship with him that he would do this to our enemies. And his arrows are sharpened our enemies' hearts, not ours. But don't become an enemy of Yah because of your faith. And you wrestling with his silence and you scared and you walk away because he's silent. Don't mean he absent, don't mean he left. Just like a father when kids being loud and panicking. I've seen my daddy just sit there, keep scrolling on his phone. I've seen my mama just keep scrolling, and I know they hit his goodness gracious what they got going on. But when something is serious, that's when they react because they can discern, okay, this ain't big. Versus, okay, I need to address that. Because Yah's a father. He loved you. Just because he's silent don't mean that he don't pay attention to you, that he don't see you. Is you still doing right even though your father's silent? Because we think that we have a visa now to go sin because he's silent. You think you're gonna be okay with that? No, though he understand that man foolish in his heart, that's still bothering because you knew better. David, Asa, Jehoshaphat getting with Ahab, he broke the ships of Tarshish because he got not only with Ahab, got with Ahab's son and started making ships trying to do business and commerce. He broke the ships and they never left Tarshish. Joash, he killed Joash because he started serving a false god when he was told right. He killed the prophet, Jehoiada son, who did him right when he was a baby boy. Knew him from when he was 1 year old until he was 7 years old, made him king. And was an old man when Jehoiada died. So he knew better. So he'll get you. Don't become his enemy. Solomon, Jeroboam, don't make foolish decisions like that because Yah hasn't said anything. Okay? So you have to remember the past victories, like our forefather. We got to remember what's told of us of old. We have these testimonies that our forefathers, different forefathers have written, repeated the same thing over and over again. Some of these individuals, he was silent. When you look at the book of Job, it don't tell how long Job was going through that. It don't say if it was a month or 2, 3 years. It don't say that. When did Job's friends come and visit him? Immediately after, it don't say, it don't give us the timeline. It don't at all. So that's what we got to really pay attention to. So even if y'all silent, you still can't walk away because Job, in my opinion, had one of the toughest men. He lost everything, including his children. His children was the most important to him. He fed his children with what he had, provided for his children with what he had. But when his children got gone, that's rough. And then his physical appearance, that's rough. He scratching himself with a potsherd, a broken pot, trying to scratch them boys, hurting, probably filled with pus and leaking. He over here pleading like, yeah, what's going on? And y'all ain't say nothing until he finally said something. And it took a while, not knowing how long it took. But Job said one thing in Job 122, and that he did not charge falsely. Yah takes away, Yah gives. Blessed be Yahuah. And what he said, Job didn't charge Yah foolishly. And you got to embrace the call as his bride. As a spouse, it's not gonna always be peaches and cream, as Malachi said. And if you a child with your parents, you know it's not gonna always be peaches and cream because you see what they go through, but they still love each other, especially if they've been together 20 plus years, 60 years. Mr. and Mrs. Pope, I love them, but I know they probably had some situations in life to married 60 years to tell me that they had no situations in life that they was, I know they were mad at each other or felt like a Sahara at one point. I'll be lying to myself. I know the individuals tell me that they ain't had no problem. They be lying to me too. But you embrace that call as a bride and you still go through it. And you still have good things to say about your spouse because you know them beyond the troubles and you know them beyond just the wilderness years. You know them beyond just the bountiful years. You know them through everything, through the thick and thin, literally. And you love them for them. And you have a true relationship with them that you're not just with them because of what they got. Like my dad would be saying, you ain't just with them because of the donkey. If you understand what that, you ain't just with them because of that. But because she got a nice body, or she got a pretty face. It ain't just that. Their character, their personality, who they are. And you have trust in him as your refuge while everything around you shakes. Because these songs, they are not just songs. They are survival scrolls for those who are set apart. And for you. And for those who don't fold, and for those who don't run and don't forget. But those who fold, run, and forget, they're not for you. They just songs trying to sound beautiful for the time being. But it's deeper than that, and that's what you have to have in your heart. Keep that in your mind. So if Yah has been silent, call on his name anyway. Pray anyway. Remember Psalm 44:15? That man was going through confusion. He said he was confused. He said it was rough. He seen his brothers and sisters die. They going into captivity. They in the shadow of death. It's rough for him, but you still call on his name. He said, even though all this has happened to us, we still haven't left you. We still didn't deal falsely with your covenant. We need to have the pride and the boast to be able to say that rather than I'm solid, I'm stand on 10, I'm busy, I'm fighting. Excuse me. Man, you better stand on Yah word. Because that's what's more important than trying to stand on 10, stand on business to a man, because they ain't gonna do nothing. If they your enemy, guess what? The most high's arrow in your heart. You don't need to be running when stuff getting tough. You need to don't fold on that. Because you can fight this man and bust him upside his head with a tequila bottle, but you weak when it comes to your bills and you can't pray, or you keep having the same struggle that you keep sending in often, man, you don't really stand on 10. You really false. You really weaker than wet toilet tissue. Just because you can beat somebody up physically and your mental weak, you weak. It's not just about your fist, because he could take your hand away from you later, wither up. Think about that. So if you feel crushed, stay loyal to the covenant. And if you're in a storm, run to the refuge. So ask yourself, do you have faith and do you praise under pressure? And you got to ask yourself that for real. Think about that. All right, bro, I'm gonna let you finish too. You have
Okay.
any last words?
So I'm gonna ask a couple of questions of self-reflection, and then we'll go ahead and finish out. But just ask yourself, do you still praise under pressure? Right? At the end of the day, it all goes back to the Torah and what Yah promised Abraham. Everything that we read in today, everything that we've read so far, is all because Yah is going to fulfill his promise. So you still have the ability to praise Yah because as Job said, one day he knows he's going to see his Redeemer. One day you're going to see Yah. One day you're going to make it to the kingdom, right? Are you speaking of the king or are you cursing the situation that you in? Jeremiah got thrown into that pit. Would you be like Jeremiah and call on Yah, or would you curse him? Would you go off because of what's happened to you? Would you lose your faith? Are you ready as the bride? Or are you still clinging to your past? Can you make the firm decisions not to go and do things you know you shouldn't do? Is Yah first in your life? Do you believe in him like you say you do? Or are you struggling going back and forth? Are you trusting the refuge or are you running in fear? The wicked move the kingdoms, but Yah, when Yah speaks, he melts the earth. So who are you afraid of? Are you afraid of man or are you afraid of Yah? The last verse in this chapter says, Yahuah of hosts is with us. The power of Jacob is our refuge. Salah. Praise Yah.
Praise Yah. Really take these Psalms into consideration, even go throughout this week until next week and read these Psalms. And when you go through this upcoming week, really have that in your mind. Because life don't stop. You got to rest on the Shabbat, but when you go back the next day, life's still there, and are you just going to believe because it was a Shabbat? Or you going to believe every day, even if your life on the line? So, hallelujah. Father Yah, in the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach, may you be esteemed. Thank you for this word. Thank you for my brother, like James and John. The Boanerges, but I'll be thank you. I ask that you help us to have that faith because one of the brothers put his life on the line and he lost it for your sake because he believed the testimonies. He even saw Yahusha, his master, give up his life and raise back up. So he believed and was willing to lose his life because he believed the testimonies of our forefathers. If Yahusha showed them all, showed himself in the volume of the book starting from Moses, I know he went through the Psalms of David and the Psalms of Asaph and the other miscellaneous Psalms. I know he did, and he showed them. So they believed that, Father Yah. So please give us the wisdom that Yahusha gave them. That's the fear of you, the application of the word. Let us be willing and obedient, not just because we want a blessing, but because we really want a relationship with you. Not just because we don't want to go to hell, but because we care about how you feel. And it's deeper than just what we have in the moment. Help us to put forth a better effort. Help us to even do better, Abiyah, and have the wisdom to want to do better and to make the wise choice. It's already within us to do good. You put in everybody to do good. We come from Adam, and who was the knowledge of good and evil. And we can see that through two of his sons, Cain and Abel. Abel was good. Meanwhile, Cain was evil and murdered his brother. So we see those examples are already within us, Abiyah. So help us to be like Abel. Be like Yahushua HaMashiach, who is at all points tempted as we are, but he never sinned. So therefore, he is the author and the finisher of our faith. Let us be able to go through the refuge in the wilderness or the struggles and the tribulations safely, Abiyah. Let us really depend on you and trust you because we hear the word of our forefathers. And you see us as humans that though you are silent at times, Abiyah, you haven't forsaken us. So let us not forsake you or mistake your silence for you being absent or not there. Thank you, Father Yah, in the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Praise Yah. Shalom, YouTube.